This is Andrew from DeFiancy. All right, guys, it is 8:30 a.m. and we are getting into the opening moments of the legacy session, New York session, and we're looking at Bitcoin here. Pretty flat weekend for the most part for Bitcoin, but we had some absolute monstrous, and I mean just ridiculous moves on some of these altcoins over the weekend, and we're going to go into a few of these. If you've been in the Discord, you've probably seen us talk about some altcoins like Avalanche and a few others. I mean, this was pretty much. Let me go to the daily so we can actually look at it a little bit closer. Pretty much all of this move here was over the weekend. So this thing moved like almost 40%. So you're getting absolute just monstrous moves right now in crypto. And to be honest, I think this is just the beginning. I think you're going to get much larger moves out of things like Avalanche here pretty soon. And we're going to go into, we're probably going to make a whole section about Avalanche because this is one of the ones that I really think people should look at. But before we go into altcoins, and again, if you're not in the Discord, you really should come hang out there. Before we go into altcoins, though, let me cover some stuff with Bitcoin and legacy markets. We'll circle our way back. I've been up, guys, pretty much all weekend. I think I've slept maybe like 3 hours, if that. So excuse me if I'm a little bit foggy here. My voice is going out a little bit. I think I have a little bit of a cold, but yeah, this is wild. So I've been staying up looking at charts pretty much all weekend and really getting a game plan together. I think for the next few months because I think based off what I'm seeing now, it looks to me like this could actually get pretty explosive before we get any kind of meaningful pullback, and I'm going to go into why. First off, let's look at Bitcoin. So the reason why I think this could get pretty explosive is because of how constructive Bitcoin's price action is. So if you look at Bitcoin here, this is not a frothy looking signal I'm getting. It's had a huge consolidation move here, ripped, and now it's pretty much doing the same thing. So you're really not getting any toppy signals here. And it has a lot of room to pull back and it still be bullish. So I have these levels here. If this thing comes to 35, roughly 36, it's still bullish. And if it comes down and tests the bottom of this range, it's still bullish, right? And that's pretty much what I think your max downside risk is here, to be honest, in the short term with this ETF approval pending. So you got a 9% possible pullback. That's pretty big. I'm not acting like that's that's like insignificant, but your upside by my estimation from here is about 10%. So yeah, you have to be careful, and that's actually a balanced trade if you enter here. But what I'm saying, it's not like your risk reward now is super skewed to the downside, meaning you have quite a bit of room to the upside here on Bitcoin, I think, before it gets really challenged. And you may be wondering where I'm getting that number from. Well, we're using a really handy Fibonacci retracement tool. And as you can see, it really respects these levels. So for instance, this 25% level was like the major center point of this entire range for like 6 months. Notice how it was dead in the center and we just kind of moved around this point. But once we broke it towards the end there, I mean, it just accelerated. That's because these levels are really significant to institutions and big whales. They really like to look at Fibonacci retracement levels to know, okay, how much of this move do we have left? And as you can see, the 0.5 level, which is always a critical level when you look at these retracement, when you look at it from a retracement standpoint, is a super critical level. And that's where we get this 40 to 42K level from, okay? So again, this thing has quite a bit of runway to the upside and not that much to the downside. Now, if you did have some bad news, yeah, you could break down as low as, I would think around 31K. So that's a 15% move there. So, that would be, that would not be fun if you were long, right? So there is downside, and you have a lot of longs that would be taken out. But things are really not that frothy is what I'm saying. Believe it or not. Now, I would have expected things to look a little bit different after this move here. I thought we would, dip our toes up here and then things would start to break down and you'd start to get more of a distributive looking signal. You're not getting that. So what I'm saying at this point, you really need to, the market is forcing us to have a bullish bias until it can prove that it's weak, and it hasn't done so. And ETH, I think, is actually in a better situation. We talked about that on Friday. As you can see, ETH is, let me zoom in a little bit. It's had this consolidation rip, and it's really just getting started if you look at it compared to Bitcoin. Bitcoin, again, is or approaching its 0.5 Fibonacci level, whereas if you look at ETH, hold on one second, I'm trying to get our little tool here. It looks like it's lagging. Okay. Like we're just over 0.25. So Bitcoin's like here, if that makes any sense. Like this is really just kind of out of sync with Bitcoin, and you can really just expect for it to catch up. So this is why I think ETH is probably coming closer to 20.6 up to 3, somewhere up to maybe even 3K before it really starts to get toppy, to be honest. Now, that doesn't mean that it's going to get to this 0.5 anytime soon, but I'm saying that's kind of like where your real resistance comes in my opinion. Somewhere between 20.5 and 3K. So until it gets anywhere close to 20.5, because you can tell that's probably going to be some resistance, I don't know why this would really start to look ugly either. I mean, it hasn't even broken out of its accumulation range, which Bitcoin has, is way outside of its accumulation range, which was broken at 30K. So basically, Ethereum is playing catch up. And I think that's why you're seeing a lot of people getting long on it. And yes, you're probably going to have some flushes here and there because everyone's just assuming that it's going higher. But I mean, there's some logic there. This is probably going to be trading higher. Now, don't get me wrong, guys. Realize that everybody is realizing this is a good trade at this point. So you're probably going to have some choppiness. And I wouldn't be surprised if this thing came down closer to this like 2K level and just kind of chopped around. I mean, that would be healthy, and it wouldn't be really anything of concern to me. Let's take a look at the indexes. So look, we talked about these on Friday. They just had a huge breakout, after we got done with that video. And, I've been thinking that we were going to get a larger pullback for a while now, and we did get somewhat of a pullback. But I'm thinking now you're actually going to get potentially some more choppy price action. Maybe you don't even get a pullback, but to me it seems unrealistic that this is just going to keep going up without further consolidation. I mean, this thing is on a tear right now. You were up like 7% off the lows. You basically haven't had much of a pullback, and you have CPI tomorrow, PPI a few days later. Actually, let me pull that up to give you a better so we have CPI tomorrow, you have PPI on Wednesday, and then you have unemployment claims on Thursday. So there's some stuff that, I don't think this is going to necessarily be a game changer, but it could be, right? So when markets are up in the air, you have a lot of people with a bunch of profits, they're going to say, all right, well, maybe we should hedge, maybe we should sell something going into this. And that's what you're probably going to get. So this is why I think this will probably start to trade somewhere within this trading range here. And I'm actually looking at crypto this morning. So I haven't even really drawn my levels out for ES. But we can do that actually here. I would suspect that you're probably going to get some support somewhere around, 43.90 if it gets there. And, until further notice, we're going to treat this 44.40 level roughly as resistance. I know we have a put level at 44.50, so actually I'm going to put that up there. So yeah, I mean, I think this is just going to kind of range around. And again, if you lose this 43.90 level, I'm sure that's some kind of key level based off of what I'm looking at on this chart. You could probably expect a pullback, closer to this 43.60 level. But I think ranging, chopping is really going to be the vibe this week for indexes. Before we cut this video off, I really want to cover some of these altcoins. So these things are going to be absolutely on a tear, in my opinion, in the next few weeks. I do believe that you're going to get some constructive pullbacks, and I think BTC dominance is actually going to start to go back up, meaning Bitcoin's probably going to hold its value versus altcoins. But if you get a pullback on Avalanche anywhere around 15 14, yeah, around 15 here, like that is when you really are going to want to buy, in my opinion, because I don't believe this is done yet. And you may be wondering why I believe that. So I showed you those Fibonacci levels on Bitcoin and ETH. Well, look at Avalanche, okay? Just to show you how much upside it potentially could have if we get continuation, or if Bitcoin just is able to hold this value in its range it's in right now, above 36K. Look how far you are from the 25% retracement level. I mean, you're like way away from there. So let's say it comes to this 15 level. I mean, that's like,
Stop filled.
150%, right? So, that's what I would be looking at here. If this starts to, get some absorption as it comes down to 15. And we're going to be talking a lot about this in the Discord, and I have a lot to talk about later about Solana and its ecosystem. But we're going to put together something exclusively for that. But until next time, friends, happy hunting.